I saw this post on X the other day, and it kind of fits in with a lot of articles I've been reading lately about artificial intelligence.
Okay.
Just recently, we've seen a bunch of local job layoffs at some big companies.
Yeah, Amazon laid off, 14,000?
14,000.
Right.
I don't know. I think, what do they have, like 2,300? We're going to be locally
Locally
here.
in the state of Washington, yeah. Seattle, Bellevue area, yeah.
Some of that is from overhiring, but companies across the board are adopting AI,
yes,
which is really making their processes a lot easier and faster.
Yeah, Amazon cited that specifically for a large portion of their layoffs and terminations,
a lot of jobs.
cutting a lot of. And we're looking at of different fields that are subject to AI elimination.
Listen to this. This is interesting. A McKinsey Global Institute report projects that by 2030, 30%, by 2030, so that's just a few years away, 30% of current U.S. jobs could be automated. 30%, with 60% significantly altered by AI tools. Goldman Sachs predicts that 50% of jobs could be fully automated by 2045. That's a lot. Some of the vulnerable jobs that the Institute for Public Policy Research found, administrative tasks are almost completely automatable. Mm-hmm. They also Forbes highlights, let's see here, bookkeeping for financial modeling, data analysis, graphic design, copywriting, journalism even surgeons. Have you seen robotic surgery? All of it can be done now.
By AI?
Using AI and robots and all these stuff, taking away the need for humans. But there is an industry that's insulated from this.
No, it's not AI. It's not Coca-Cola commercials. They just made the Coke commercial by AI.
You're right, but that's a tech job.
That's a tech job.
So this is people who are in actual technical industries, like people like plumbers, people going out and doing real jobs.
The trades.
Nurses, people who have face-to-face with people.
Okay, yeah.
And so we thought, let's get somebody who's deeply invested in this and can speak to this more. So we have Lynette Browers. She's the director of the Northwest Career and Technical Academy. She joins us now. Lynette, thank you so much for making the time.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's actually my favorite topic to talk about. So
fantastic. Awesome. I want to read something to you. I saw this on X, and I saw this was a guy who was a plumber, and he posted this. He says, in the next 10 years, skilled labor is going to become the most valued position in the entire market. AI can't wire a panel, run a conduit, or weld a beam in the rain. When a data center needs power, when a city needs new infrastructure, when the lights go out, you're not calling ChatGPT. You're calling an electrician, a plumber, an iron worker, or a lineman. Do you agree with that?
I do. And I actually think it was before AI. So I go back to having a plumbing issue at my own house. If I didn't know how to fix it or my spouse didn't know how to fix it, I was calling for a high dollar value to make it work. So it was before AI. These trades still exist. And I heard the comment around, doctors performing surgery. There's some really interesting research around AI tools being able to read like a mammogram better than a radiologist.
You're right.
And so there's some pieces on both sides of that are really exciting and powerful.
Well, it's great, but it's also scary because it means a lot of people that thought that those jobs, those are high-paying jobs, that they thought those jobs were safe, those could go away. And so where should people be investing, especially young people, where should they be investing their time when they think about what careers they're going to have going forward?
Aiming their future, yeah.
I think it can be both things. So I run one skill center out of 18 here in Washington State. Our newest one is in Tacoma. And they're all basically trades that can't be outsourced. So we're talking nursing, dental care, construction, welding, automotive. So all of these programs are a really great way for a young person to not only access a livable wage, but also our students right now really do they like to learn and apply what they're learning in a trade-based position.
Can you talk a little bit about how the perception of the trades has changed in the last few years? Because I'm trying to remember if there was we had small gas engines. We had all these things in high school, when I was in high school in the early 2000s, that then started going away. They started cutting some of those programs, which I thought was a huge folly. I think those are obviously great businesses. I know a lot of people who are in welding who make a ton of money, but they weren't pushing those. Instead, they were sending people to colleges to get degrees that didn't necessarily have a huge upside once they finished, other than carrying a lot of debt. What are you seeing from people who are now getting into the Northwest Career and Technical Academy?
I think actually our students post-COVID across our state and across our region are saying, we want to be able to apply what we're learning. Shakespeare is not meaning anything to me right now. I'd rather read a technical manual and figure out how to problem solve and troubleshoot. But I also think that this college for all mentality was one of you get a college degree, it doesn't matter what college degree, and you'll be successful. But also there's a piece of economics here. I can run an English classroom and you name a high school pretty cheap versus running a welding shop.
Sure.
Right. So just the cost of career and technical education is huge. So our state does invest in things like skill centers. So dental is a good example of a program here where students come from all these regional high schools. There's not one high school that can run a dental program because there's just not enough kids interested in dental at the biggest high school in Washington state. But we can run one and serve the needs of kids that are interested from a big region. And we can set up the expensive equipment and we can buy the expensive equipment because we're doing it here. We're not trying to replicate and do it in 15 different high schools.
And part of your mission as the Washington State Skills Center Association is to make sure that the education system for our state, which is heavily invested in, respects and designates resources to these trades, like you're saying. Though, and to your point, that the most expensive thing to teach to these kids are the trades, but it's the most insulated from job loss and from elimination.
Absolutely. I think the biggest pillar that we focus on is workforce development and tied with our K-12 education. So all of our students are working we call it shared time centers across our country, but they're working at their high school and they're working at a skill center towards graduation. And at the same time, we're earning college credit for free and earning industry certifications like their nursing assistant certification, their American Welding Society certification, the ASE for automotive. Like we have all these certifications that students are able to earn for free.
I used to work with the local plumbers, Local 32, and I know they're constantly looking for new recruits. They spend a ton of money of their resources in finding new apprenticeships. Does your organization work with these different trade organizations, different unions, to make sure that they're feeding their pipeline, no pun intended?
Absolutely. So there's a couple of things. We have general advisory committees that serve on almost all of our skill centers with apprenticeship models, union and non-union. We have our industry partners and economic development alliances, but we also have programs. So in my construction program, I have several students who are interested in plumbing or being an electrician, and they're choosing construction because it's connected to that work. A couple of my colleagues run in their skill center program HVAC. I don't have space to run an HVAC program, but they do. So we do share across our state on those programs and how to start them or how to bring them together. But we're also limited by our geographical region and also our facilities. Has
it been difficult to get the educational decision makers in this state to see the value of designated resources to trade education?
No, I just think we're so small compared to a bigger system. There's 18 skill centers, 295 districts, and so we try very hard to talk about we are not competitors. We are partners, and so each of us have my governing body is 8 school superintendents who drive our work and our programming. So we actually have wonderful partners. And then the legislature also really sees the investment of our skill centers.
Have you seen over the last few years? Have you seen your increase in students who are interested? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. In all of our skill centers, we are busting with student interest. And so most of us are closing our application. So we can't even tell you how many kids are interested in coming to a skill center.
Wow.
Because we just don't have enough room. So this year I've leaned into I call it third session programming. So students come for morning, the afternoon, or the late afternoon shift. And so I have 4 programs running from 3 to 5:30. So students are here till 5:30 on a Friday night.
How did you get into this? What was your background originally?
Great question. I taught in the K-12 education system, and I wanted to be a high school principal. And so I came here as a stepping stone as a dean of students thinking, I'll jump back to the comprehensive high school system. That was 15 years ago. And I
just haven't looked back.
I see kids change in front of my eyes each year. It's so rich.
Expand on that a little bit if you could. Like, how are they changing? Are they seeing a possibility? Are they seeing a path forward that's nearly in front of them? Like, what do you mean by that?
Well, there's a couple things. We don't have things that for mechanisms of discipline. So we don't have detention. We don't have after school detention. We don't have that.
You got me right there. Yeah, I'm right. I'm in.
Right. So we don't suspend students unless it's like state law for egregious reasons, right? We just don't have it. But what we have is a professional expectations rubric. And so if you're having issues with your cell phone, that's unemployable. And we're going to try to figure out a way to get you to employable. We also have the partnerships with our industry. We have adults who care deeply about their pipeline. So they come in and they're guest speakers, or they'll give feedback on projects. So our students are seeing what they're learning and why they're learning it. And they're connected with a bunch of other adults who do this work who are like, I can see myself here.
I would wonder too, if you're not seeing at that age, because what's the general age of the people that you?
We serve juniors and seniors, 16 to 18.
The confidence building that would give to somebody at that age would be so phenomenal that I would think that would also carry over into their more traditional schooling as well when they're back on their regular campuses.
I can speak for my son. He went to 7 periods at his high school, and that was really hard his freshman and sophomore year. His junior year, 3 periods at his high school, the rest of his day with NCTA. And he did a lot better academically.
That's beautiful.
We see so many stories on a constant basis about the cost of colleges and student debt and what a burden that is. This must be such a welcome alternative pathway, a fork in the road for so many that doesn't have the pressure. You mentioned about kids going, how am I going to do on the SATs? Am I going to get into a good college? How much debt am I going to carry after that? Is my degree going to be employable? We see so many stories where that's not the case anymore.
Will the job even be there?
Then we get to AI.
Yeah.
I would think that you are going to become, I would think, if practical, if it plays out, you guys are going to be the norm. I think as this country has shifted away from, you got to have a college degree to have an employable career that doesn't carry a lifetime's worth of student debt.
Absolutely. And it's a yes and. So we have a big ampersand behind me, the power of and. So students can come here. So our automotive students have a great partnership with Hyundai, Jack Carroll Hyundai here. So they can go to work, get certification, and go to Skagit Valley College's automotive program. So it's yes and. They can do it's college and career. And I think we personify that. When I first started in education, it was, are you going to college or are you going to have a career?
Right, that's how I've traditionally thought about it. Yeah,
same with me.
And I don't want a 35-year-old adult being college ready still. I want my mantra is thrive by 25. I want every 25-year-old adult thriving in my community because they're prepared on this pathway.
You know what's so interesting is it's a traditional approach. It's what we would have done 50, 60 years ago before tech invaded everything.
Well, that's what we did before the government got involved in the student loan game, which was that push toward you got to have a college degree or you won't get anything in life.
100%.
Yeah.
But we talk so much these days about how unaffordable life has become, how people can't afford houses, how people, the jobs that they can't get that first job. I mean, I'm reading article after article about how AI is like specifically killing that first job that's the way in for people. And here you guys are setting people on a path where you're going to graduate, you're going to go right. I mean, that Hyundai thing that you just talked about sounds amazing to me. They're getting real firsthand experience. Then they're likely going to find a job that they're going to be able to start making real money right away. You're not going to be like burdened by this debt. So by the time you reach your mid-20s, you've been making good money for half a decade. Versus the people like when I got out of college, I had like $60,000 in student loan debt that took me 7.5 years to pay off. And that was actually relatively fast. I worked my butt off to pay that off. Some people carry it for decades. That haunts you everywhere you go. If you want to buy a house, you want to buy a car, they're factoring in that debt, and you're unable to do a lot of those things. And now you guys are setting people on a path that's just, you're going to have a different life, like a whole different life.
Well, let's leverage what I have this experience. We have employers who are begging for people. So think about being 18 saying, I'd like to work for you, and I'd like you to support me with my education. Can you help me with that?
Perfect.
And we have employers saying, absolutely. So I'm working and I am working on my education at the same time.
What a beautiful thing. That's so. I hope you guys grow.
How do we get more people to? How do you grow what you do? How can we get the message to people to grow what you do?
Yes. So the best part of my work is I'm Republican and Democrat friendly. It is powerful. Our legislature is so powerful in what they believe about young people. And they have been very, very supportive of our skill centers across the state. But they're also, all of these buildings that we sit in are legislatively funded buildings. We can't levy and we can't bond. So they have to be apportioned from the state legislature. So I think there's more of us waiting to be built. We've identified skill center deserts in our area. So my colleague down in Vancouver, she's been working at that area between Olympia and Vancouver, setting up satellite programs. I have set up some satellite programs up in Whatcom County, and that's a skill center desert. So Pullman is a desert area. So we have all these areas that we've identified as deserts, but it requires legislative money to build buildings.
Hey, I know a few empty Fred Meyers that could use an occupant that could really help the community.
That'd be great. I love that.
I actually think that's a brilliant idea. Pierce County Skill Center was an old Safeway.
There you go. Yeah, fantastic.
And I guarantee you one thing you never hear in with your students is the phrase, I don't think I'll ever be able to buy a home. You hear that from so many of this generation.
Yeah.
I bet you never hear that.
Well, it feels like a pipe dream. We're selling them a bad bill of goods. When we're saying we're going to saddle you with debt because your only way to have a future is to go to college. And you may not be prepared or even in that aptitude to do that work. But even though my colleague that I work with here, he says, what credential do you need to thrive by 25?
Mm-hmm.
So that could be a university degree, and that's absolutely acceptable. But make sure you're chasing what you need to thrive. If it's, I want to be a nurse, there's a pathway for that. I want to be a teacher, there's a pathway for that. I want to be a biotech engineer, or I want to be a lab aide. I mean, there's all of these pathways, but what credential do you need? And how do we back up from there?
Oh, that's fantastic. All right, that's Lynette Browers. Thank you so much for making the time. She's with the director of the Northwest Career and Technical Academy, and I'm so happy that you guys are operating, and I hope you grow like crazy.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
All right,
Likewise.
we appreciate it. Let's get
Great
her
job.
back on the show. She's fantastic.